Alrighty, here we go. Brand new Flyers Daily for the first day, of the month of October 2025. Flyers Daily, as always, presented by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. My favorite month. It's the rebirth of hockey. Hockey that matters happens in the month of October. I didn't even realize that this episode was for October 1st because I'm taping it with still a few hours to go on September. But when you're seeing this and it gets released, it will gloriously be the month of October. Rocktober. Very pumped about this. And counting down the days to another season, 8 and change from this Wednesday episode until the Flyers drop the puck on October 9th on the season. I'm like a little conflicted. I'm always very transparent here on the podcast. And in my public life, I'm pretty transparent. I'm conflicted because on October 9th starts this new season, and we're going to talk about 5 optimistic predictions for the Flyers 25-26 season. But I'm also like nerve-wracked by the date of October 9th. So I'm conflicted because I made a mistake. I scheduled my most recent scans post 4 months of chemotherapy over 16 weeks, post 6 weeks of radiation and oral chemotherapy. And I had to let my body heal and get my next scans in the beginning of October. And when I scheduled it, I didn't even realize that I scheduled it on October 9th. So I have my CT scans of my chest and abdomen, my MRI, my pelvis on the day the season starts. And I'm nerve-wracked about it. Like, I'm anxious about it for obvious reasons. I don't know what the scans are going to say. So I'm conflicted about the date and the countdown, but I'm going to put my faith in the man upstairs that the scans are going to be what the scans are going to be. And I'm going to go forward and I'm going to attack what I have to attack. But it is hockey season, and that's going to help me attack. That's my approach right now, mentally. Not going to say it's been easy for me mentally. It's not been. This has been a tough waiting game to get to this point. But we're going to attack that like we attacked everything else, shift by shift, period by period, game by game, and we're going to keep moving forward. And it's really the reason why I came up with this theme for this podcast of the 5 optimistic predictions for the season. Now, I could sit here and reside in negativity and worry. And I do have worries, whether they're my real life worries of my scans or other things, or my hockey worries and Flyer worries of third pair defense pairing, or, Alex Bump being sent down yesterday, not going to make the team out of camp. I don't think that's the end of the world. Emil Andre being sent down. I was a little shocked by that he's not going to get one more look this week. Who that third pairing is going to be? What are the ramifications of that pairing? What if it's Zamula and Juleson? How does that play out? What if it's Gilbert and Ginning? How does that play out? Ginning, I didn't think had a good beginning of camp. I think he's really come on lately. So, I could live in this world of just living in the negative and the worry, but that's so draining and exhausting that sometimes you got to just put yourself and you got to almost tear yourself apart from that to put yourself in an optimistic headspace. So that's what I've done in this episode. Damn it, let's live in an optimistic headspace. So I came up with 5. These predictions, weren't like researched or anything like that. These are just gut feelings that I have as I sit here, in the last couple hours of the month of September that I wanted to talk about that first came to mind when I thought about this season. So here we go. 5 optimistic predictions for the Philadelphia Flyers 25-26 season. Number 1. The Flyers power play will actually rank inside the NHL's top 17. Now you go, well, why didn't you just make it top half and make it the top 16? Because I thought maybe I was getting a little greedy if I went there. So I said top 17. Now the team with the 17th ranked power play and power play percentage last year was the Dallas Stars. I can't believe they were 17th. Of course, they didn't have Mikko Rantanen all season. They traded for him late. But they were at 22%. That was 22.1 was 16, 22% was 17. Is it going to be that high this year? Potentially. Could be the same. So I'm asking the Flyers to go from the 30th ranked power play percentage last year of 15% to go up 7 full points to get into the top 17 at 22 flat. 7 full points. Now, why do I think that's going to happen? Well, I try not to put too much stock into certain things in the preseason, like result. And even though this is a result-based opinion, because I think the power plays look good, I look at it and I say, Matvei Mishkov is going to take another step. And I know I've cautioned people about Mishkov, and we can have more on him in a moment, about expecting too much. But I've seen the chemistry that he's developed already with Trevor Zegras and the additional just flat out skill that Zegras brings to the equation. And I can't ignore it. I can't ignore it. If I were just to ignore what I've seen in these power play opportunities, and it's been a limited sample size for sure, then I can't ignore it. It's been very impressive. And they haven't even put the puck in the net a ton. Second PP has got a goal as well when Sanheim scored off a feed from Christian Dvorak. Owen Tippett's got a power play goal. But I just look at it, and I look at the skill that they're putting out there, and it's not just the skill that they're putting out there, it's the way they're attacking. There was a power play at the home game on Saturday in the first period against Boston. And I get it. It wasn't Boston's NHL roster. I don't care. It's not about that. It's about the structure of the power play. And the way they had their players positioned was something I go, I've never seen that before. Now, I've watched a lot of hockey. There was basically 2 forwards. A lot of times in a power play, you have a 1-3-1. You have 1 forward down low, 3 across the middle, and a guy at the point. This was like a 1 at the point, 2 kind of down low, and 1 really low, and another. It was just like a weird stagger. And the guy that was down all the way down low was either below the goal line or sliding to net front. At points, it was Bobby Brink. We've seen it with other guys moving down there, Christian Dvorak in this situation. And I just thought it was an interesting concept. And I think there's going to be some new conceptual things with the power play, plus the amount of puck movement, quick passes, short passes, and body movement. So I'll say the power play, again, optimistic prediction number 1 is that the power play will be in the top 17 in the NHL. We'll call it 22% because that's what it was last year. So I'm asking them to go up 7 percentage points. Is that being too optimistic? Maybe some think so. But that's where I'm going to lie right there. And we'll check on these throughout the season. They'll be 7 percentage points better. And that will be a big, huge improvement for the Philadelphia Flyers. All right, number 2. The Flyers will give up 41 less goals than they gave up in 2024, 2025. Now, when it comes to goals allowed per games played, the Flyers gave up the 5th most goals last year in the league at 3.45 per game. That's 283 goals. I'm saying they're going to give up less now, 41 less, so a half a goal per game less by going and giving up 242 or less goals per game. Now, that seems like a really big drop. It's not as big as you think, but I do feel better about the goaltending in total. And I know about injuries and the effect. If Sam Ersson gets hurt, then Kolosov's back up. I understand. But last year, I thought the way the goaltending played out with the injuries to Ersson to exacerbate it was the worst case scenario you could have. Frankly, I'm stunned that they were only the team that gave up the 5th most amount of goals per game. Now, save percentage, they were the worst. And I think their goaltending room right now with Ersson and Vladar is head and shoulders stronger than it was last year with Ersson in and out of the lineup hurt, Kolosov hanging around as a third goalie, then being the number 2, and then Fedotov playing well, but then giving up bad goals all over the place. It was a friggin' mess last year. It was a goalie mess last year that will not be repeated. They will give up a half a goal or more per game basis after 82 games are played than a year before, which is to say they'll shed 41 goals year to year. Now, I always go back to the example of when Doug Waite coached the Islanders and they gave up the most goals in the NHL. They came back the next year and gave up 102 less goals with the same team without John Tavares under Barry Trotz because the environment was that much better with essentially the same goaltending and gave up the least amount of goals. They shed over a goal per game, that team, with the addition of Barry Trotz and his defensive scheme and structure and standard that he demanded his teams play with. I'm asking the Flyers to do half that because I do believe in the box and one in today's NHL, really limiting the chances, trying to play half the net. I really liked what I've seen out of Vladar. I think he's looked more refined than Ersson so far in camp. And they're the only two goalies left now at this point. They'll split the final two games. But I think the goaltending is much stronger this year right now. And I don't even think this is being overly optimistic. I don't even think this is like a hot take or anything. I think their goaltending situation, if it stays healthy, for the most part, it's going to be dings and guys are going to miss games from time to time. And Kolosov probably will see a couple games this year. But overall, I think the strength of the position is significantly better than last year. That's number 2. Number 3 of my top 5 optimistic predictions for the Flyers 25-26 season is that Noah Cates. You notice I'm not going Tippett. I'm not going Forster. I'm not going TK. I'm going Noah Cates will score more than 22 goals this season. And he'll do it without a single goal on the power play. Noah Cates last year was a healthy scratch on opening night, maybe even the opening 2 games. He ended up playing 78 games. He had 16 goals, 21 assists for 37 points. Back in the 22-23 season, he played all 82 games. He had 13 and 25 for 38 points. He was a +3 in each of those seasons. And in each of those seasons, now the one he had in the 22-23, he actually had 3 power play goals. And last year, he had a single power play goal. I don't think he sees the power play this year. Yet, I think he goes from a career-high 16 goals to 22. Not only that, I think he goes from close to a career-high 37 points to 50 points. Why? Because that line, I think, will be intact, is intact right now, will be intact on game 1, and will be intact 99% of the season. And that line of Tyson Forster, Bobby Brink, and Noah Cates will be a good one for the Flyers. Not the top line, but they will be a really good supportive line. And I think that Forster bests his 25 goals from last year. I think Brink has another good season as well. But the guy I'm keying on is Noah Cates, that he will have more than 22 goals and have 50 points this season without power play time. If he can do that, and you get that out of a third line center, a third line, and a couple of guys that can kill penalties on that line too, boy, you've got a really good situation. Is that too optimistic? We'll see. All right, number 4, top 5 optimistic predictions for the Flyers 25-26 season. Before the break of Disney on Ice, the Christmas break, the Flyers head coach Rick Tocchet's name will be discussed in the Jack Adams conversation. Year 1 of a head coach coming in off now, again, Rick Tocchet is no pushover. He's no shrinking violet. But coming in off a coach as demanding, and frankly, and you guys know how I feel about Torts. I'm a huge Torts fan. But complicated as John Tortorella, a team that comes into a new coach after that, 3 seasons of that, if they can get off to a good start, they can really build confidence and foundation and ride a wave. And if they can do that at Disney on Ice, he will be mentioned in the conversation for the Jack Adams, kind of like Stefan Carberry was last year for the Capitals, who, by the way, ended up finishing with the 2nd best record in the NHL last year. So I look to Rick Tocchet's name around Christmas to be in that conversation. Where does it end up? That's a different story. I don't know. And yes, these are, again, optimistic predictions for the season. But that takes us basically until the 23rd. The Disney on Ice trip really begins on the 23rd. So that is game 1 through game 35. Game 35 happens to also be against the team that Rick Tocchet coached last year, the Vancouver Canucks at Wells Fargo Center. How did that synergy happen? How did I get so damn lucky to have that happen? But that's the deal. At game 35, at the Disney on Ice break, they'll start compiling lists for the end of the calendar year, and his name will be mentioned in the Jack Adams conversation. That's number 4. Number 5. How did I avoid him to this point? Matvei Michkov. I've cautioned people, don't get too crazy with your predictions for Matvei Michkov, because I've cited guys like Nikita Kucherov, who took 4 years to become a point per game player at roughly the same age. In this episode, where I'm being optimistic, maybe a little bit more than normal, I'm going to say he's a point per game player. He has done nothing in this preseason to show me that he's not. He hasn't. I saw the video of him yesterday, just sitting around after practice playing the crossbar game with Trevor Zegras. Those two seem like they're hitting it off with peaches and cream. Two super skilled guys that I think can think the game the same way. Michkov is obviously going to see a ton of power play time. He's going to see a ton of offensive zone deployment. And I think that he's coming in better this year than I thought he would. And I thought he would take a step forward. But I think he's going to be a point per game player. I think he's going to be a point per game player. He's going to score more than 30 goals. I mean, last year he had 26 as a rookie in 80 games. 30 goals is not that ambitious of an ask. I think it could be like 33, 34 goals, 52 assists. I mean, then you're talking 83, 80, 45 points. I think if he stays healthy, and I think he's going to be deployed very strategically in every offensive situation he can, especially when you've got a line like Noah Cates that can tilt the ice and get things back under control from a territorial standpoint, and guys like Christian Dvorak and those kind of things, and Sean Couturier. I think that he's going to be put in a situation to score and score a lot. And again, he's going to be on the power play, which I'm saying is going to improve to top 17 in the NHL. Flyers are going to give up less goals, and he's going to be a point per game player. So I'll give the stat line on Michkov. I'll say he scores 7 more goals. He scores 33 goals, and he'll have 52 assists. So what is that? 52 and 33 is 85 points. That's my stat line on Michkov. Is that too optimistic for the former 7th overall pick of the Flyers in the 2023 NHL entry draft? I'd love to get your feedback on that. One bonus one real quick, too. We'll call it number 6. Zegras will have north of 60 points. The rebirth at his age, 24 years of age, basically, for the entire season. He'll be 25 coming up in March, 10 days before my birthday. He's had 2 60-plus point seasons already in the NHL. He had a 61 and a 65 at the age of 20 and age of 21. If he's healthy, improving power play, point per game player, Michkov, he's getting north of 60 points. All right, so again, here are the 5. The Flyers power play will rank in the top 17 in the NHL, 22% or better. Flyers will give up 41 less goals than they did the year prior, 242 versus 283 last year. Essentially, they'll give up a half a goal less per game. Noah Cates will score 22 or more goals and have 50 points without getting it done on the power play. Before the Disney on Ice break on December 22nd, when the Flyers wrap up their home schedule for the calendar year against Vancouver, Rick Tocchet's former team, he will be in the Jack Adams conversation. Matvei Michkov will be a point per game player this season, possibly with 85 points. And Trevor Zegras will break the 60-point barrier again for the first time in 3 seasons. Am I being too optimistic? Those are my 5 optimistic predictions for the Flyers 25-26 season. I'd love to get your feedback. So jump on my email, jason.myrtetus, jason.myrtetus@gmail.com. You can always shoot me a DM on X at jasonmyrt, JASONMYRT, or just a tweet, whatever you want to do. I'd love to get your impressions of those 5 optimistic predictions heading into the 25-26 season. I feel cleansed. This optimistic talk and not worry about third pair D. Well, there I go again. I mentioned it again. All right, let's not do that. Let's end it there. What say you? Join us Friday. We'll recap preseason game number 6 and preview preseason finale game number 7, and we'll get ready for the start of the NHL season. Welcome to October, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you Friday on a brand new Flyers Daily.